record on this computer. All right, so we are recording, so keep the language to a minimum. No foul language. Don't want to get in trouble. And nobody play any music because it goes on YouTube, and I don't want to bounce my video because they hear Tupac in the background or something. All right, so this is the sprint review for the third sprint of Unit 3.3. I threw together a quick little project that's like the study group, which is going to allow us to use authentication, protected routes. We could run full CRUD, add, get, add, update, delete on this application through a mock server. So it's going to be real similar to the sprint. The sprint's going to use a mock server as well. Similar fashion. Now the sprint is completely different. This is just a list of people basically that you can edit that you have to log in to do. Sprint's really neat. It's got like bubbles that move around and colors. It's kind of cool. But, so this is what we got. So we're going to start covering all the objectives that you're going to run into on the sprint. So I'm going to start with the first objective that they have, which is to build the login for the sprint challenge. We're going to build a login for ours. So I'm on the login component. I've got nothing happening. Let me check app. I got a route that just goes to login right now, does nothing else. So let's go to our login and make something. So login, what do we need to log in? Anybody got a good idea? Probably need a username and password, right? Let's make that username and password. So let's go make a form. Let me check and make sure I'm doing this the way I want to. Yep. We're going to make a form, then we're going to have an input. This one's going to have a name. We'll call this username. We'll make another one. And you will have to do this too on the sprint. You will have to build the form. Password. All right, we got those. Let's put some labels in here. Let's get that going. So we'll create a label. This is going to be user name. We'll do the same here. Label. Password. Word. There we go. We got it going now. We should start seeing some login stuff. Why am I not seeing the login? Export default login. Let's go check app. Why am I not getting it? Route exact. Oh, I'm not on the right route from the previous project. That makes all kinds of sense. There we go. That looks a little better. All right. So we got username, password. That looks a little funny. Let's have like a colon space in there. Yeah. Kind of separate that out a little bit. Yeah, it looks a little better. All right, so we got our login, but we gotta get the rest of our stuff in play for this. We gotta handle it with state. So we're gonna grab some use state React. This will be our form handling state. So const form set form was use state, and we'll give it a default object with a username. Password. There we go. All right, let's go change our inputs. Actually, let's create our handle change function first. Yeah, right here. So const handle change. Just going to take in an event as an argument. And we're going to call set form. We're going to spread out our original form values, make a shallow copy. And then we're going to set the key to the event target name, followed by the event target value. All right. So we have a handle change method in play. Let's get our inputs tied together. So we'll say value. This is going to be a form username. This one's going to be value equal to form.password. All right, we're going to have our on changes on here. On change. It's going to equal handle change. Same down here. On change. Handle change. And then, let's see, we got a value, we got our on change, we got a name. I'm going to give this one a type. Type equals password. And what this does is makes it so you see them little dots when you type in the password. It's like the HTML protected. So when I type in this one here, you'll see that. But when I type in here, you see dots. That's what that type password does.
So if you don't give it a type, it defaults to input?
Yeah, so if I don't give it the type of password, it's just going to show my password on the screen. Let me save this.
I have a question.
Go ahead. What's up?
How is the input connected to the label when it's not wrapped in it and you're not using HTML4?
It's not at the moment.
Oh, okay.
You are correct, though. Yeah, it is not connected at all. But we can connect it. Let's do that real quick. Let's go HTML4. Yeah, this comes in handy if you got to test it. And we'll call this username. And then we'll come down here to the input. Give it an ID, a username. And that one's connected if I spell it right. Label HTML4. Password. It's an ID. And yeah, we'll give this the type back of password so we see them little dots again. All right. So we have that ready. Let's go ahead and create our submit method. Let's get that going. We want to be able to submit to our API. I don't think we're going to need that use effect, but I'll leave it there just in case. Const handle submit. It's going to equal a function that's going to take in the event. We need the event for this because we got to prevent the default. Prevent the default on the submit so the page doesn't refresh. And after this, we're gonna make some calls. We're gonna make some API calls. Now this is just a login call, so you can use Axios. It's not protected, so there's no real reason to use Axios with auth. I will tell you that I normally generate an Axios with auth function and use it everywhere because I like the fact that it stores the base URL for me. So even though I'm doing like a GET request or an unprotected post, it's just going to send the headers as null. It's not going to like bounce back or give you errors, but it gives you access to using that base URL. So before we go any further with this, we're going to go ahead and let's just tie our function in here. So let's finish our form before we go any further. On submit equals handle submit, not handle change. Handle submit, and then we're going to create a button real quick down here. Say button and submit. And I always like to give it a type, even though it's like implicitly there. There's the button in the form. I like to say it's got a submit type. That way, if you have to add more buttons, only one is going to submit the form at that point. So the next move I'm going to make, like even the Ruby, we got to build an Axios with auth component. Now they give you Axios with auth. Imported Axios, nothing here. So let's build that. We're going to say export const Axios with auth. It's going to equal a function. This is going to return Axios.create. So what I'm doing is I'm actually creating an instance of Axios. And I'm going to have a base URL. This is why I like to use this, because I can use it for like everything. So our base URL for this, I can't even remember what I set it to when I created this. Let me go double check. Yeah, it's just that localhost one right there. Let me copy this. Our base URL is going to be this. localhost 5000/API. And then while we're here, we're going to go ahead and complete it with our headers. So our headers is going to be an object. We're going to have content type, which is in quotes. And I like to put this in here. Some people leave it out, but if you're dealing with a lot of different APIs, like third-party APIs, a lot of them have the option to get XML or JSON, and you have to pass the content type in the header so the API knows what kind of data to send back to you. Most of them will default to XML. So you'll make a request and you'll get back this XML like formatted document. You're like, what's this? This is not what I wanted. And it's because you didn't have the content type defined in the header. So you want application/JSON. And that way you know you're getting JSON no matter what. And then we got the authorization. And this is going to be our token eventually, but I'm going to go ahead and declare the token up here. So the token I'm going to expect to be in local storage. So I'm just going to say const token. That's going to equal local storage dot get item. And the item I want to get is called token, because that's what I plan on storing it as. And then here I can use truthfully, the easiest way to do this, you could JSON parse and stringify these tokens. I like to just use a literal string. It pretty much does the same thing. And we got our token. So this should work. We got to export it. Let's go put it on our login component, import it in, and use it and see for sure if it's going to work. So import Axios with auth from slash. It's in our helpers and Axios with auth. Then I'm going to come back down to my handle submit. And I'm going to say Axios with auth dot post, because we're posting. And the route I got to post to, I believe, is just going to be login. Yeah. So yeah, now I don't have to worry about remembering the whole URL. I can say, no, I just need to go to login. And what I'm going to send my form data, which is my username and password to log in. And after that, we're hoping for a happy path response. So I'll type in .then. We'll get a response. And we always want to console log these responses. You never know what the shape of the data is going to look like. .catch. In case we get an error, I want to do the same. Console.log the error. That way it tells me what's broken if I break something. So now I got the loveliness of remembering what the username and password is. So let's go into our mock server and see what I set that at. It's student with a capital S and taco. All right, just everybody remember that, okay? Student. And the password. Oh, I didn't even type that all the way in, did I? It's not bad. Student, and the password is taco. Let's submit, see what happens. All right, I did get a successful response. So let me clear this out. Let's go back to my login. Looks like response.data.payload is my token. So that's where my token lives. So what I want to do in my .then now is I'm going to say local storage .set item. And I'm going to set the item token. And what I'm going to set that to is response.data.payload, right? Payload, yeah. And the reason I didn't have to stringify this is if you look in the console, it's already a string. So we're good to just throw that puppy right in local storage. If you see some values that come across as local storage will accept strings and integers or numbers. It'll accept floats, so floating point numbers as well. But if you try and put objects in there, true or false Booleans, like if you guys remember when you did the custom hooks, how you're having to stringify and parse true and false, it's because it doesn't accept Booleans, but you gotta convert them to string values and then parse them back out. So that's where you run into that issue. But a token, an authentication token, is 99% of the time always a string of some kind.
I have a question.
Shoot.
So where you have token written on line 20, is that any way directly, or is that related to the Axios with auth token, or could you name it anything right there?
No, it directly relates to that. So where that comes from is if I go to application here and I check my local storage. So right now my local storage has nothing in it. Token is the name of the key.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so like when I log in again, like I'm gonna run this again. If it'll let me refresh. Did I save that? I didn't save it. That's why. All right. Let me save that. Log in with student, and then we're gonna put in taco. Submit, and you'll see the key name is token, and that's our value. That's our web token for authentication. And when Axios with auth is used, when it runs, like if I'm making like a GET request to a protected route or something along that line, it's looking for that token and this GET item by that key's name. So it's going to go through local storage, and it's going to find the one that matches here, and that value is what's going to be assigned to this variable.
Okay.
This looks really basic because we're in a simple project right now, but a lot of times on a lot of sites, when you're building something elaborate, this local storage will be full of all kinds of things. You'll be persisting form data in here, all over the place. So it'd be like, almost think of it as like a giant JSON object that's at your disposal that persists. So if somebody refreshes the page, closes the browser, opens the browser back up, that data is always stored in the browser's memory itself, based by the URL. It's actually on the hard drive in the software. So that allows you to hang on to things for a while. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the next step. Next step is our private route. Now we have to find a way to where we logged in, we got that handled, but after we log in, we want to go get our members list here. We want to be able to redirect to our members list and see all of our members. We're authenticated. We want to go check them out. So to do that, we have to build some way to put a route within our application here, but it's protected by that token. So we're going to build what they call a private route or a protected route component. And these, like Axios with auth and the protected route, they're pretty much commonplace in the industry. Almost copy and paste. The only things you'll be changing are the redirects on where you want it to go, or if you're checking for a certain role within that token as well. But the basic concept of them is just reused over and over and over again. Let's build that out. We're going to import. Yeah, I should just need route and redirect. Route is just like it's the same route component that we're using in app. You know, same thing, pointing it to a certain URL extension. Redirect is a different one. Redirect is going to send it to a component if it doesn't see a certain thing. We get these from React Router DOM. And now we'll say export const. This is private route. It's going to equal component that's going to take in some props. And now we can say, let's get that name to capital letter. So we're going to say const component, lowercase. This represents the prop that gets passed into the render prop or the prop when you call the protected route. But to identify it as an actual React component, sometimes React will throw errors. We're going to make it a capital component. And then we just need the rest of the things, which would be like your history objects, your push objects, so on and so forth. All right, we have those, and we're going to return. We're going to return a route. All right, and this route, let's see here. We're going to give it the rest. Rest. And then we're going to give it the render prop. And render prop equals this, and that takes a callback. And let's open that up. I'm going off my cheat sheet here a little bit. It's been a little while since I had to write one of these. Render props. And then in here, we're going to say if local storage dot get item token. So once again, we're referencing that token. So if that's there, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to say return. We're going to return that component with a capital P, and what we're going to send that component is all of the render props from the callback. But we're going to spread them out so they look normal. All right, and that was our if. Why is this thing so bad? Oh, it's probably because I don't have that redirect in there yet. Else is going to be return redirect, and we're going to redirect to we're going to go to login for this one. So to send it back to login, that should be happy. Why is it not happy? Oh, I never closed up the redirect. That's why. And now it's still really mad. Why? Oh, import React from React. There we go. Now it's better. Got to import React if you want to use React components on this one. Now, a new React, like React 17, it's not required to import React anymore. It's kind of built into the backside of the library. It's just assumed that it's going to be everywhere. So this is it. This is a private route. Any questions on this?
No.
Everybody good? If you want just a quick rundown for the video, the reason why this portion is here is because we're going to pass a prop to this called component. I'll actually, you know what? I'll explain this as I go because we're going to go into app right now and do that. I'm going to call, I'm going to import my protected route. All right, I think we call it a private route, right? Private route from slash helpers private route. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to call private route. And I'm going to give it a path equal to, we'll call it slash members. And then I'm going to give it a component key. I'm going to set that equal to whatever component I want to render, which in this case, I want to render this member list. So I'm going to import, is that a default export or not? It's an export default, okay. Member list from components, member list, member list. So I'm going to pass that member list in as a component. And where the key is see how this component is declared with the lowercase letter? You say component equals. That keeps the convention of declaring a prop within any component, really any React component, of being starting lowercase, and the actual component starting with a capital letter. The problem is when that information gets into the private route, we have component down here, but we want to use that component right here. So we just say, hey, that out of props, that props.component, we want to make that the actual component with a capital letter. And then just bring in the rest of the stuff. And that allows us to declare this component right here. This is actually member list at this point. But if we did it without this, it would be member list with a lowercase m type thing or lowercase c, however you want to look at it, the way the names change. but just keep in mind that you want that to be a capital letter, so React recognizes that as a React component and will render it to the screen. Otherwise, you'll get errors. That's why that's there. So you see where this lowercase component to the component kind of lines up to where we called component here, and then past the member list. This is our capital component right here. And that's it. So we have that set up there. Now let's go back to our login, and we're going to bring in one more thing to finish this up. I'm going to import use history. And I'm going to get that from React Router DOM. Because what I want to do is I want to push. Matter of fact, we'll say const push equals use history. And after this success and my local storage has got the token in play, I am going to push to that route, which I believe was called members. And we can ditch this console log now because we know that we're good there. And why is it mad about push? Oh, I'll put that thing in there. All right, so everything should be happy. Cool. Let's go ahead and run our login again. And we'll even clear this just to make sure it all works. Student and taco. Submit. And it sent us over to members. So it's working. Now let's check our app.js. And we were wanting to go to members. So we're good. Even though we don't have anything in the members list yet, so there's nothing going to show up. But I could see it in the URL that it functioned. And to verify that, I can go back. I can clear my token, and then I can just try and manually go to members. So let's see if it'll let me just go there. And if you look, it redirected me right back to login. Oh, login to, ooh, that's a mistake. Our login route is /. So let me go adjust my private route. I could change that right here in the redirect. Our login route is the home route. So we'll go back here and just make sure that it sends us back to /, and it does. So we have a functioning protected route we know works now. Questions on that? No. All right, cool. Well, let's go into our members list. Let's get this going. So this is where we got to make our API call and get the members, get what we need. So let's see, how do we have this set up here? It's similar to the project. Okay, we got some fun stuff happening in this one. This one might take a little bit to build out. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a state. From we're going to need use effect and use state. Use state's going to carry our list. Use effect is going to make our API call. So we'll say const members, set members. This is going to equal use state. And right now we're just going to make an empty array. I know the data is going to be an array because we're going to have an array list of names by the time it's said and done. And declaring as an array keeps me from having to conditionally check to see if it's defined and not get that map is not a function error that's so common with React that we've all had plenty of times. So the next one is going to be a use effect. And use effect takes a callback. And we are immediately going to put our dependency array in. That way, because if you're like me, you forget it, and then you bang the limit of an API, and then you can't do anything until the next day or whenever you get it unlocked. So it saves you from having to do that. And then here, let's see, do they give you directions on what they want you to do there? Private route to public page. Okay, so they don't explicitly tell you, but I'm gonna give you a tip anyway. We're going to build a function in our helpers that's going to be called fetch members. And the reason why I'm building this is it makes testing easy. So if you're testing and you have to mock like an API call, mocking Axios with auth is kind of difficult to set up. I mean, you can do it, you can mock it, but you have to mock it as a jest function, and you have to create a jest function for each method it has. So that would be the put, the get, the update, and the delete. To eliminate having to write all of that just to mock that, you can wrap that in a function in like your helpers, like fetch something or fetch your members, whatever you're doing, and wrap the Axios call with that. So all you have to do is mock that one function in that route. And you can say just.mock this function and return this data, and then you're good to go. So we're going to create that function right now. And we'll call it fetch members.js. And here we're going to import, we're going to need Axios with auth. Because this is going to be a protected route, and I just use it for everything anyway. And then I'm going to I'm not exporting anything yet. Oh yeah, I am. Export const fetch members. It's going to equal a function. And here we're going to return Axios.get. And we're going to get, I got to go look and see what that API is, to /members. It's a /members. And then we're going to have a .then. We're going to get a response. For now, we are going to console log that response. I just want to see what it looks like before I return it. And error. And we'll console log the error. All right. So this is just console logs for the error, and I'm going to change this after I import it in. I am just doing this right now just to make sure everything works. So we're going to import fetch members from // helpers fetch members. And I'm just going to invoke that into my use effect. I'm going to say fetch members, invoke, and I could call .then on this because I returned Axios out of there. You know, that first was return Axios. It's going to return the promise rather than resolving it. So I can resolve that promise here, kind of like change the promise in, and allows you to use the .then and the .catch outside of that function, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to say response, and truthfully, you know what? I can just console log it here, and I can go change that other component. So I have the .then, .catch, error, and we're going to log the error. Now I'm going to go modify this fetch members. Oh, it's already mad. It's like, I don't like you. So here, instead of console log response, these are going to start looking a little funny because they get real short when I do these. I'm just going to say response, fat arrow, response. Same thing with catch. And what this does is it's called like an implicit return. When you have a single line fat arrow function like that, it's like saying whatever this is, return it back out. That's all it's doing. Webpack module, why is it? Oh, got to invoke Axios with all. Oh, .length. Oh, really? How did that happen? There. All right. Now we got all the errors fixed. We're happy. So we return the Axios instance, which goes and runs the .get. On the happy path, it's going to return that response. On the sad path or error, it's going to return that error, which in turn in our list is going to allow us to see the success and the error. So if we go to our console, let's give this a quick refresh on members, and we'll see. I've got a response data. Where am I? Oh, that's in the handlers. Ooh, there's an errant console log in the test. So I've got a data array that's got one user in it, and it's me. So let's set that to state. So we'll say set members to response dot. It's just response dot data, right? Yeah, response dot data. So now we have that. I can ditch this console log, and I'm going to turn around and create another one just to verify that I have that. Set members to res.data. I thought I just put that in there. I must have erased it. So we'll see, and you can see I got an empty array for the first render. Second render comes across, and now I've got an array with just me in there. So that's all working as expected. Good to go. So we have that. Now let's get it displayed on the page. So we got member list. I'm going to see if I got a quick way. Yeah, this is going to get a little creative here. So we got an H1. We're going to call this the current list of members. And then here, I'm going to want to map over them. So I'm going to create some JavaScript. I'm going to say members.map for each person. I'm going to return. See, we got a member card already set up. Oh, there's nothing in the member card? Come on. We'll grab this member card. Yeah, there we go. We're going to cheat a little bit here. There we go. Other than this props.setMember to edit, we'll get to that later. But this member card is going to display like the name and everything else. So here we're going to return that member card. And we're going to give it some props. Let's see here. It needs member. So member equals person. There we go. Now do we see some members? Hey, look, there I am. I made it. Oh, needs the key. Got to get rid of them warnings. Key equals person.id. I gave it the key. Why is it mad? Should not be popping that up. Did I not put an ID in there? That might be it. Yeah, I never gave it an ID. Okay. So there's another way around that error too. Index.
I heard we're not supposed to do that though.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it in a pinch. There's no other way to think about it. If you got an array of data that you want to map over and list, and it has no identifier, you have to find a way to identify it. So it's they don't like using it because array data can move. It can move around. It makes it a little harder to track to keep React happy, whereas an ID is like that's part of the object. So I mean, you could go through this like members.map. We could actually set the ID, give it an ID number in here if we wanted to. But index, yeah, it's not the best practice, but it does work in a pinch when you have to do it. Especially like at a point like this where we don't care what order the members are in. So if the array moves around, that's cool with us too. All right, so we got that display, we got that done. Let's see what else we got here that needs to be done for this sprint challenge. Okay, let's create a way to add the member. We want to be able to add a member to this list, so let's do that. Now I think on the sprint, most of the add functionality is there, so we're just going to create one real quick in this, and I'm just going to do it with another piece of state. Const, let's say add member. This is going to be set add member. And the only reason I'm using it this way is because I'm going to use this as a toggle function. I'm going to display a component. I have fun doing this. When you show you guys how to conditional render a bunch of different things in one component. You can actually make it flip around like it's 3 or 4 different components, but still all be in just one. It's kind of neat. It's a good thing to know how to do. So we're going to set this initially to false. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a button. I'm going to put the button right here. Button, we're going to call this add member. And what add member is going to do, the button on click, is it's going to set that value of add member from false to true. So we'll say, see, on click equals callback. And we'll say set add member. Set add member to not add member. So the opposite. This is a true toggle function, even though it really doesn't have to be. Why not, right? So if I click this, it'll toggle that to true and then back to false and true and false. So you can see it's triggered state reminders, so we know we're pretty good. Oh, let's see here. The member form. Let's create the member form. That's where we're gonna send this to. So member form. Do we have that created yet? No, it's empty. Let's see here. Let's see if I can cheat this one up a little bit too. So yeah, I'm just gonna copy this stuff. Is there anything in? You know what? We better type this out because a lot of the stuff I think you're gonna have to do in the sprint. So let's just do it the normal way. I don't want to skip that part on you guys. So let's create a form tag here. We're going to create our form. We're going to have our first input. We said we'll give it a label. Label, and the label is going to be name. And it's going to be an input. And this next one is going to be a label. And in this label, we'll call this unit. Give that also going to be an input. And I just want to see what that looks like. So I'm going to go into my members list. And I'm going to bring that in right now. I'm going to say members, add member. If add member is true, then I want you to return the member form. Like that. Why is it mad about? Oh, I didn't capitalize the M. So what this will do is that once that becomes true, our form should pop up. There it is. When it's not true, form goes away. Pops up, goes away. Pops up, goes away. Cool stuff. So we got a name and a unit coming out of our form. We got to add a couple of buttons to that. So let's go to our member form. Let's give it some buttons. I'm going to give it a button. I'm just going to call this button save. So we have that going for us. Now let's start creating some of the functions that we're going to need to make this run. We're going to need some state for this. So let's bring in use state. All right, we're going to say const form set form equals use state, and in here I'm going to create some things. I'm going to check props for a value. I'm thinking a little bit ahead here. I want to use the same form for if I have to edit a member or if I have to add a member, because they take the same data. There's no sense in typing the form twice. So when this component mounts or it is initialized, it's going to check props to see if the props value member to edit exists. We'll call it member to edit. If it's there, it's going to populate state with that information. If not, I'm going to let it populate with an empty object as if we were going to add somebody. So how I can do that is, actually, you know what? I'll implement that in a minute, so I can kind of walk you through it. Name is going to be an empty string, and unit is going to be an empty string. So that's our initial form setup. Now we're going to create our handle change. This should look a little bit redundant to you guys by now. It's going to take an event. And I think this is done for you already on the sprint too. So set form, to spreading out the form. And then event.target.name, so whatever the name is of that specific input, we're going to set the value to that target's value. Just like so. Now let's start tying some of this stuff together. So value is going to equal form.name. We're going to give this a name that's going to be equal to name. And on change is going to equal handle change. That controls that one. We got value.
I have a question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a way to use the handle change from login in this component?
Yeah, if you put it in a separate file, you can actually export it that way, yeah.
Okay, cool.
The best way to do that is what you did on the first sprint to this unit, and that's a use form hook. Have a use form hook, and just have that stored in a file and import that anywhere you need a form, and you're good to go. Has your handle change built into it already, all your stateful logic handled already, and can tie into any form. That's the actual proper way to do it. You guys remember doing the use form hook?
I remember the name. Don't remember how to do it. I guess I'm gonna have to go look at that.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. You can actually copy and paste things in and out of it. When we get this done, if I got a little bit of time, I'll circle back and I'll refactor it into a use form hook and show you. So we'll get through this like as if we completed the sprint challenge, and then we'll transition maybe all of our forms into a use form hook.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to make. Form.unit. The name is going to be unit. And on change is going to equal handle change. All right, so we got some controlled inputs now. We got that rolling. That's set to that. That's set to that. Add member. We click this on. We can type in things. We're not getting any React warnings. So we know we're good there. Just to verify, we can console log the form. If you guys haven't been figured out yet, I like my console logs as I'm building something, because it's like that peace of mind that verifies as I'm stepping through things that it's working. That way, if you start typing without checking things, when you go to finally do it, and it's like, oh no, I got an error, you'll get what I call error chaining. You'll get one red error. You'll fix that, and then you'll get another one, and then another one, and then another one. And you spend an hour chasing these things down until you finally get it figured out. But if you check yourself as you go through the build, you don't have that happen. Yeah, so we're good. Our state's working there. All right, what else do we need? We got this. Oh, we got to do our handle submit. So let's do a handle submit. We'll call it handle. Yeah, handle submit. Submit. It's going to be a function that's going to take in the event. And we'll prevent the default. Okay. Now I'm going to show you. I want to use this form to basically add and edit a member. So keep an eye on this handle submit, because we're going to come back in and refactor this a little bit when we go to do our edit. It's going to be kind of neat. So right now we're going to say handle submit. We're going to call Axios with auth. Axios with auth.post. We're going to post to members. And what we're going to post to members is our form data. And we're going to get a .then, the response. We will log that response. And we'll have a .catch for our error. We'll console log the error. All right, so let's try and actually, no, let me finish our form. On submit equals handle submit. Handle submit. All right, and then our button save. It's already going to be triggered because it's inside the form tag, but I still like to give it that type of submit. You never know when you're adding extra buttons inside that form. So let's try and add a member and see what we get back here on this console log. So I'm going to add a member. I'm going to add Stan. Stan's in unit 3. Save. All right, I got a response. Response data is the whole array. That never happens, but that's okay. We'll roll with that. So.
The Stanley happens all the time.
So what I'm going to do now is I want to set my state for my my members list to that new value. So I'm going to come over here into my member form. I'm going to pass that as a prop. I'm going to say set members equals set members. And I know that's all I need currently. That's subject to change as we move through this. But for just the post of adding somebody, that's what we're going to call. We're going to call props dot set members. And it's going to be the response dot, I think response dot data. We'll verify that when we go to try and add it. It's the thing, whenever you save something, it resets itself. Let's see, Stan, unit 3, save. And yeah, it worked. There's Stan. We got it. All right, so that's our ad. So we got our ad in place. I think that's kind of already done in the sprint challenge when you do it. You might need to add a couple of things, but most of the code's actually sitting there. You just got to adjust it and add the certain methods to it. So let's go on to our next one. Let's do a put request. Let's make this so we can edit it. So if we think about if we want to edit one of these, let's say we're sitting on the member list and we refresh this and we got add member and we want to edit Chris. How would we go about that? What do you think would be a good UI to be able to edit Chris?
The same UI?
Yeah, I mean, should we just be able to click on Chris and then have it take us to our form?
Sure.
You want to do it that way? Yeah. So there's what I'm getting at is there's a bunch of different ways to do it, and it's whatever your boss or your UX designer tells you to do, or whatever feels good to you. You know, whatever you think as a user would be beneficial. So
I think it would make more sense to actually click the person's name than adding an extra button for it.
Okay, then that's what we're gonna do. So when we have add member, we want to add an on-click to those members, don't we? So I think I've already actually got that in place to do that, to be honest. Let's check our member card. Yeah, on-click, set member to edit, props.member. So let's go past the props that we need for that. So we're going to go to our member list, to our member card here. And we're going to pass the set member to edit. We're already passing the member. So set member to edit. Oh, we haven't even created that yet. I'm too far ahead. So we're going to create some state up here called edit member. And what the whole point of this state that we're using, this third piece of state, is just to temporarily hold that one specific member we want to edit. So we can pass that data down. Does that make sense to you guys? Rather than having the whole array, we just want that one chunk that we want to change. Set member, did I name it set member? We're going to call it set edit member. I might have to change some naming. This is going to equal a use state. And we're purposely going to keep this use state completely empty so it's null. And we'll come down here, we're going to pass that to our member card. We're going to say set edit member. Should be a capital E. We need to fix that. We got to keep with the best practice. We're going to set that equal to set edit member. Now in our card, yeah, we want this set edit member. We're going to change the name of this. I already have this somewhat implemented. So it's taking the props.member and it's calling that set edit member to where it'll populate this state in the member list. And we're going to verify that right now by console logging the edit member value. We're going to make sure that that's alive and well. And you can see it's undefined right now, which is what we want initially. We want that undefined. But when I click on this, I want that to define. And it does. You see it's defined. So we got that one little piece that we want. And we can add a member just to make sure that that's all working the way we want. So if we save this and then I set, I click on Stan. So right now it's still on me. If I click on Stan, okay, it changes to Stan. Oh, look, he gets an ID. I didn't get an ID, but he got an ID. Wonder why I don't have an ID in mine. I must have messed up when I set up the resolver on this. Let me take a look at that. Now I can take that index off. Yes, I do. So next ID, okay, we're gonna make this ID 11. There we go. Now, let's go fix this to where I don't need the index anymore. The key is going to be person.id. Now it's done the right way. Cool. So we know all that works and we're setting that data. Now let's get that to our form. So we're going to say set edit member equals, actually, I don't think we need that. Member form. No, what we're going to do is we're just going to declare this component one more time. Yeah, so we're going to use more curly braces and we're going to check the edit member variable now. If that exists, we're going to return the member form with a different set of props. This time it's going to have the let's see here. It's going to have the member, the edit member. We need the edit member? Yeah, we're going to need the edit member. We're going to need the set edit member. And the reason why we're going to need set edit member is because after we get done editing this member and we redirect, we want to clear that value back to false so the form goes away. This is all about controlling your local state as well as the API. And what else do we need for that? We're going to need the members array. We're going to need quite a few of this, and we're going to need the set members method for our member state. So when we get our API call back, we could set our members back to where it needs. So that was a lot of props going on there. Is there any questions on that, on why we passed all those in? I can explain each one and what their purpose is, just going ahead right now.
If you could do that, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so edit member. This is our first prop. That's grabbing this edit member. That's what we set when we click on this. That's our actual object. That's a member that we want to edit. All right. Now set edit member. The reason why we're passing that is because this set edit member, we want to set that back to empty when we're done. So right now it's going to conditionally render based on that value that's here. So when we're done and our API call comes back, yeah, we edited the member, we made our state changes, we did everything. We want to set that back to null. So while it's back to null, it'll remove the form from the render. We won't see it anymore. The third one is our members array. That's all of our members, our current members. We're going to need that data in case we got to make any state modifications. So like depending on how the APIs work, they're all different. Most of them, like when you edit a person or an object, an entity on the API, most of the time they either send you back just the object that you, the entity that you edited, or they send you back a record of like a number. Like if you get a 1, that means you edited 1 record. If you get a 2, you edited 2 records. That's all the information it gives you in return. It's up to you to trigger your front-end API to display that data the way, properly to reflect the changes that were made. And there's different ways you can do that. The most data effective way is to manually manipulate state. That's actually the best practice. So when you make that call, it comes back successful. You just update the state on your front end locally without making another API call to reflect those changes. Saves you data limits, all that kind of stuff. It's just a better way to do it. I have seen instances where people use a toggle method and use effect and just re-trigger the use effect to run again and go get the new data from the API and redisplay it. But if you could think that's extra load time, that's extra data time, that's money out of everybody's pocket to do it that way. So as little back and forth as you can do, the more cost effective your application is and the faster it's going to go. So that's why I'm already passing that in. And then I got the set members, the last one. That's so I can set that value. So I'm going to have the original value, think of it almost like previous state. And then I'm going to have a way to change that down within that component. That's why all 4 of those are there. That help?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right, so let's go dive into that form. Now let's think about it this way. What's going to happen when I click that person to edit that form? It should show the form. It does show the form. All right, but we got to figure out how we're going to get that information into our state of our form. We know it's coming in from props because we're passing it. In our member list, we can see we have this edit member right here. We're getting that information. So what I like to do is you can do that right here in state. You can say props dot, wow, what did I name that? Is it edit member? Props dot edit member. Or the empty object. So that's a real quick, easy way to do it. So when this component initializes, if it's initializing on the edit, like it sees props.edit member came through and exists, it's going to populate state with that value. If it doesn't see anything, we're going to get our empty object, just like if we were adding a member. Any questions on that? All right, we're going to verify that works. So I'm going to click add member. We're empty. We'll add Stan again. And we'll save Stan. And we should be clearing that form. I should be doing that, but I'm going to back that out. That's one thing. Now, if I click on Chris, ooh, yeah, we got some logic to fix here, don't we? Let's fix that right now. I don't like the way that's working at all. We're going to make some, well, for one, I never saved this. That's why that don't work. But I do want to, in here, where I'm posting this member, I want to, I'm going to call set form set form to that same object name, empty, and unit. I actually shouldn't even have to do this. It should just be unmounting itself. Yeah, that's why. Sorry if I'm confusing you guys. We don't need to do that. We need history. No, we don't need history. What am I thinking? I need to set add member. Am I passing that? Nope, I'm not. So let's get that. Set add member equals set add member. All right, we want to just set that back to false when this form comes through. So we're going to say props dot set add member. And we're going to set that back to false. That should take care of that. We're going to verify that right now. We're going to click add member, add Stan, unit 3. When I click this, it should go away. However, it did not update him. Oh, that's because I clicked add member. You can see where there's holes in the API that I need to fix. Save. There we go. It goes away now. I feel better about that. Now when we click on Stan, I should see the state populating. I'm not. I wonder why. It should be mounting. Refresh. Yeah, why not? Let's console log those props. Let's see what's going on. See why that's happening. I click this. Aha, I see why. Shame on me. So I got a typo right here. That should be a capital M. Now it'll work. Yay, look, and it's populating our data just like we wanted it to. So we can add a member, Chris2, unit 4, save, and then I want to change Chris2 to Stan, unit 3 if I wanted to, and then so on and so forth. So now we have the same form using it for edit and adding a member. We do have another thing to change though. So we have this handle submit function. So we have one form that's only going to have one submit function on it. We got to make this function handle the post request for adding a member or the put request for removing that member. Sound like fun?
Alternatively, couldn't you do like a toggle state and just switch the button out and then have a different on click?
Yeah, but then you have to write 2 buttons and 2 functions.
I mean, fair, but
It's not that bad actually. Here, we'll do it right now. I'm gonna do it real quick. It's just an if statement. We're gonna say if, and we're gonna say if props dot edit member. So if that exists, we're gonna want this to be a put request, right? If it doesn't exist, we just need it to be a normal like post request. So if that exists, we're gonna say Axios with auth. So it's similar to writing 2 functions. It's just a little shorter. We're going to say dot put. The route changes here, so we got to have backticks. We're going to have members, and it's going to be slash. And if you remember right, we're getting that whole object populated in our form now. So we're going to say this is going to be the form.id. All right, and then the data. The data is going to be the form data. That's what we're going to send back. And we'll have another dot then and a dot catch. Dot then, we'll get a response. We'll log that response. And we'll get a dot catch. That'll give us an error. Do the same thing, log the error. So that's the end of our if statement. And now all we got to do is else. That's all we need. and then grab this whole chunk of code right here and pop it in there. All done. Questions on that?
Okay, that's way faster than an alternate button.
So it's just going to check to see if that member to edit exists. If that member to edit exists, it's a put request. If it doesn't exist, then it knows it's a post request and it's adding a new member. So now let's take a look and see if this works. So I'm just going to add a member just because. We'll add John this time. And he's in Unit 1. He's a noob. Let's see what happens here. We're going to save that. We're going to go to John. Now I'm going to click on him to edit him. And let's say, oh, he moved to Unit 2 now. Let's click Save and see what we get back. Here's our response right here. We got back the updated object only. And I knew this was going to happen already. That's why I have the props passed the way I did. That's all we got back. It's just the updated object. We didn't get back the array of everybody. We didn't get back the just the record being updated. But we actually did get back the object that we edited. So now we have to go through our original state that holds both of our members, and we got to like switch out the old object with the new object. So that's what we're going to do now. And it's actually not a terrible way to do it. So we're going to say props. Oh, here are props dot set members. Because that's what we want to do. We want to set the members, this right here, this array. We want to change this data to the new updated data. And we have that passed in our edit member right here. So we have access to it. And we also have access to the original members. Both of those are key for doing this. So we're going to say props.setMembers. And what we're going to set members to is props.members. So the original members that were in that array, we're going to map over them. And we're going to say for each member in that array, we're going to run this map method and figure some things out. And we're going to use an if-else statement. We're going to say if member.id is equal to, now here's another thing that gets a little funky. You will notice this on a lot of APIs. Sometimes the ID numbers are strings, especially if they were put in from an input field and the API is not converting them. Your ID number will actually be a string. So if we look, I don't think it's going to happen on this one, but I've had it happen before. So I always try and verify that they're both numbers, if that helps at all. So what I'll do is I'll say number. Just, it's just a precautionary thing. It's probably not going to matter on this one, but I do like to do it. I convert, whether it's a number or not, I'm converting them both to integers right here, right now, so I can use my strict equals and make everybody happy. We're going to compare this to the response. Is that response.data.id? So we're going to compare each member of this array to this ID number to the ID number that we got back in this response right down here, ID 12. So it's going to roll through those no matter how many we have. When it finds ID number 12, it's going to say, okay, I've got the right one here. I hit the if statement. If that is true, then we want to return the response.data. The response data in this case is this whole object that we updated. And then otherwise, so like else we just want to return the member. Basically, we don't want to do anything. So this member right here, if we're doing that, we just want to return that member back into the array. Now keep in mind, map returns a new array because it's an advanced array method that returns one. So this is going to set our members to a new array from map to where it went through all of the data, it found the match, and then replaced it. Otherwise, it kept everybody else in order. Any questions on that?
No, you explained it excellently.
Ah, cool. I try not to confuse people too much. All right, so I explained it well. Let's see if it works. Working is the key, right? All right, so let's add a member. Let's add Chase. He's in Unit 2. We're going to save him. There he is. And he graduated to Unit 3. Let's save him. Bam. See a change? Unit 3. Now the only thing we have left now is we want to leave this form again. So we're going to do the same thing that remember we set members and did all that. We want to set that member to edit back to null. So let's see here. Props set members. This is the .then. It closes there. So we're going to come down here and we're going to say props .set edit member. Well, I should say props.set edit member. Why is that mad? Oh, I'm outside of that block. That's why. Let's move that up. There we go. That's better. That's inside the map. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I see what I'm doing. Need to be down here. We're going to say props.set and we're just going to set this to null. So now if we add a member, Laura, Unit 4, save. We're going to edit Laura. Laura changed her name to Sarah. Save. Back to Sarah, form goes away. Cool, right? Conditional rendering for the win. All right, so that is, we got the crew of the CRUD. We got one left. We got the delete. So if I want to delete one of these, how do you think I should go about that with our current UI, the way we have it set up? I got an idea.
Make another if statement in that handle submit?
Well, you kind of say the button's labeled save is a problem. You could.
Oh yeah.
But like if you click on Sarah, like save, that'd be kind of confusing. But in this case,
add a delete button.
I think that would be the best. But only when you click on the person, it shows up like here, and just have like a delete right here. I think would be a good. What do you guys think? All right, let's add that in. We're gonna put another button right below save here. And I'm allowed to do this now within the form tag because I tied the first one with submit. So now I can have the delete button do something completely different. So I can come up here and I can create another method. And I can say const, we'll call it handle delete. Set that equal to a function that's going to take in an event. And let's see here. We're going to call Axios. Oh, wait, we got to prevent the default. Axios with auth dot delete. And we're going to delete / members. Oh, I got to make this backticks. / members. It's going to be $$ because now we have access to that individual ID. It'll be the form.id. That's all we need. So we need .then response. We'll log it. I don't even remember what comes back on this response either. .catch. Can't remember if it gives you back the object removed, the ID, or it just says gone. All right, and then let's tie that into our button. So on our button here, we can say on click equals handle delete. And now we should be able to remove one. So we're going to add foo from unit 2. We'll save. I don't like the fact that that delete button showed up on the add member. We might have to fix that too, more conditional rendering. But now if I click foo and I click delete, I got this back. And you see what I was talking about from before? Look at what data type is that number right there. It's a string, isn't it? Yeah, that's a gotcha right there. If you want to filter by that number for the ID number, that's the ID number, but it's a string. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're playing with these APIs. Sometimes it will come back that way, and you have to convert it. So here's another case where we're going to have to manually update our local state to reflect the changes in the API. And it's going to be kind of similar to what we did up here, but a little simpler. So here we're going to go props.set members to props.members.filter. And we're going to say for each member, this is like a quick one-liner, we're going to say member ID does not equal number response.data. Yeah, response.data is that. So it's going to return every object it finds in that array. It's going to return every one that doesn't equal the ID that we just removed. Does that make sense? Anybody got any questions? Let's try it here. Then we'll fix our UI a little bit. Foo, unit 4, we'll save him. All right, we got him. We want to remove him. Delete. He's gone. Couple little things we got to check. We want our form to go back away. So we're going to make a couple of little changes here, nothing crazy. We want to props.set edit member. We want to set edit member back to null. That should be good. And I only want that delete button. I only want this button to show up if it's edit member. So I'm going to wrap this in curly braces. And I'm going to say props.edit member. Then do that. So when I click add member, I just get the save button. So, but if I add somebody here with the unit, save, and I edit, oh, why didn't it show up? Oh, typo. I'm good at that. I thought it was working first try. Let's do that again. Unit 8. Yeah, Unit 8's a good one. And now I have the delete, and it's gone, and it disappears. There's CRUD. All the CRUD is happening. Any questions on that? All right. So let me take a look at what else is going to be asked of you guys. Oh, we got to write a test. And I want you to write a test on, let's see, that would be, oh, they give you 3 tests. So color test, color list test, Google page test. So they got 3 tests they want you to write. We'll probably just write 1 because I'm going to cover the one that's the pain point. The other tests are basically just checking to see if something renders like a header. Matter of fact, I can look at that and verify so you guys aren't caught totally off guard. Components, let's see here.
Looks like render, render, execute the delete, and render without errors, an appropriate number.
Okay. So the biggest one, the main pain point for this, I believe, is bubble page. Yeah, because that's where you have to mock the actual API call and return the data. That's what makes that kind of difficult. So we'll do that one. Maybe we'll write some more tests if we get a little bit of time. Right now we're gonna do the one where we know we're gonna need it. We're gonna get rid of this. Is that member list? Did I make that call? Yes. So we're gonna test member list. Actually, I already got it here. Okay, so we're going to say renders list without errors. So let's go ahead and import that in. Is that a default export? It is. Import member list from member list. And I'm just going to come right down in here. I'm going to render. member list. All right, I'm going to show you guys this. If you saw my earlier lectures on testing, you saw it there too. But there's an insanely good tool called screen.debug for finding out what your test is doing at any given moment and seeing what the printed DOM looks like on the screen. So we're going to use that right away, just to see what kind of assertions we might want to run or what's going on. And then we're going to go into a different terminal, and we're going to run this test. npm, we're going to type npm t member list test, testing, and it passed, but it did not print the DOM. Why did it not print the DOM? Oh. Man, there's a bunch of console logs in here. Gross. Okay, there's the console log I wanted. We got one in member list on 19. Let's go clean that up. Yeah, that's the other thing about testing. All your console logs that you have in your app will show up in the test. So we're going to clean these up right now. Source mocks handlers 17. There's line 17. Yeah, we don't want that. Okay, that looks better. That's a good clean test. So you can see where I have a current list of members and add member. So we can say, we can run an assertion on this to renders list without errors. Yes, we can const. Let's see. We'll say heading equals screen.get by text, and we'll use the regex, and we will get current list. We can just type current list. Believe it or not, it will persist the rest of it. Let me say expect heading to have text content, and then we can actually use the actual text content. Current list of members. And let's see if that flies. No, it failed. Why? Oh, I forgot to capitalize the M on the actual. See, the test works for you. That M should be capitalized right here. Test saved me a little UI that I was missing. And our test passed, and it shows everything. Now the next one is the kicker. We want to check it with the list. So here we have to do some mocking and some other fun things. So what we're going to do is we're going to import our fetch method. So we're going to import, and I have curly braces around this because I exported it. It is not a default. And I kind of did that on purpose for using it on the test. It seems easier when it's that way. So I'm going to just call this fetch members. I'm going to do it as mock fetch. So you change the name, and that's going to come from ... two ... slashes to the helpers to fetch members. So we have that, and now here's where this tricks a lot of people. I'm going to say just.mock right here. And I'm going to get, all it wants is this file path. This is all it needs to know, wherever that component lives. But if you watch what happens, my first test is going to break. Just like that. It's like it was working, now it just broke. Well, the reason why it just broke is because we just mocked that API call. And it's going to see that we mocked the API call, and it's going to say, hey, I can't read property.then undefined. I don't know what's happening here. So we actually broke our first test. So in order to get that first test working, you want to do this above the render. We're going to say mock fetch dot mock resolved value once. And what this means when you say mock resolved value once, mock fetch returns a promise. It's either going to reject or resolve. We want it to resolve so it hits the dot then. Now, if we wanted to test our errors, we could do a mock rejected value. And it'll hit the dot catch block, and we could check to see if we have error messages. That's what that's doing. It's faking that promise as a resolution. And here we're just going to resolve it as an empty array, like our state was originally initialized for. And it can't read. Why not? Did I type it wrong? What did I do? I missed something. Mock resolved value once, and then I typed. Oh, I know what it is. Cannot read property mock resolved value once. Let me look at my cheat sheet here. Why? That should work. Let's give it a data. It's going to need to be a response.data, and it's going to have to be an object. I just thought about that. But why is it saying that doesn't exist? Did I forget to import something? Nah, this is throwing me through a loop. This always works. It's because I'm not asynchronous. That shouldn't matter. What did I miss? It was called fetch members, right? I gotta look back at my cheat sheet and see what I might have messed up. Is there a typo I'm missing? Oh, testing. I do this. Oh. Do I not have the proper library? Let me go take a look at my package JSON. Unless you all see something that could be breaking it.
Do you have to declare the mock as a just up function?
No, you shouldn't have to. See 5.11.3, 10.4.8, 12.1.1. Yeah, that should be working.
In your resolved value once, in our guided project, we have mock fetch show dot mock resolve value once parentheses mock display function.
Huh, like inside here, mock display function?
Yeah, but we declared mock display function as a jest.function. function. Jest.fn.
Oh, okay, we could try that. So you said const mock display function?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. Just that function. So and then in here,
parentheses up on the function.
oh, right here, yeah.
And then just mock display function there.
I didn't think that worked for an API call. No, it's saying mock fetch is undefined, like I did something wrong up here. So I'm not happy with that. No, it's got to be. It's got to be it. It's saying that that's not a mock. One second, let me comment this out and try that. Yeah, it's still mad. What's going on? This worked last time. Let's comment this, just to make sure. It's not going to be happy about that. Yeah, because all this is supposed to do is just mock that promise. So, console log mock fetch. It's saying it's undefined. That's why. Why is that undefined?
Maybe just mock fetch from the pathway, not fetch members as mock fetch.
Yeah, but it's a named export. That's what's worrying about. What happens if I do fetch members? Okay. I'm curious. Maybe it's mad about that. Now you're the day-to-day struggles of testing you all are seeing live. It still says it's undefined. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't want to mock that. I just want to see fetch members. What is it? Undefined. Okay. So let's re-import this again. Import. Fetch. Oh, I got a capital and lowercase. I bet I was fighting a typo the whole time. What do you want to bet? Oh, it is. Really? Let me go fix this. Yeah, that's going to break. I'm so bad about that. I'm sorry, guys. Member list. Where's member list? Member list. It's supposed to be a capital M. Well, that's why it was never working. Oh, wow. Come back. Contact. Wait, this is the right one, is it? Oh. This one. This is what I want. Alright, that should unbreak. And now we can go back in and fix our test. Import fetch members as mock fetch. Go back to exactly the way I did this before. Slash, helpers, fetch members. Typos are brutal. So let's fetch this. Let's uncomment that and uncomment this. And we're going to change this back to mock fetch. Chasing a typo. It should go now. Although I hit screen.debug because there was a state update. Okay. So there was a state update because that came back. Yeah, all right. So we can fix that too. There's an easy way to do that. Wait for. We're going to bring in wait for from testing library React. And before we check anything, we're going to say we got an async, so we're going to await. Wait for. This accepts a callback. I'm going to grab these fellers right here. Should be able to hop them in there, and that should go. Ta-da! All right, so we had to segue away from that a little bit because I don't know how to hold the shift key when I type in for some reason. Any questions to that point? And just a tidbit of information, whenever you see that act warning in your test, like you see, oh, it's not wrapped in act, the guy that even writes testing library, Kent Dodds, will tell you 99% of the time you don't have to wrap anything in act just because you didn't test for a change in state after it updated is why it gives you that warning. So the moment you write an assertion checking the updated state and like a wait for, after a wait for, that warning will go away. So now we're going to do the last one. Man, I feel bad. It took me like 15 minutes to chase that thing down. So let's do the same thing. We're going to mock fetch, mock resolve value once. Except the difference is now we're going to give it some actual data. And I'm just going to declare that data up here. I'm going to say const data equals an array with an object in it that's going to have, first one's going to have a name, John. And I'm just mimicking the data I need. And we're going to have a unit. This is going to be 2, and an ID of 1. And then we got to put Stan in our test, right? Name, Stan, unit 3, and an ID of 2. So we have this data method here. We're going to mock this result value in here. We're going to mock it with data. That is not going to work. Oh, I know why. We're going to say that this is an object. So what I have to do here is you actually have to mimic the data the way it comes back from the API. And if you remember right, we have a response.data. And that's an array. So we're going to set it up like that. Does that make sense what I just did there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this represents our response, our RES in the list, this part right here. But we need a data key to get to our actual array for our code to function properly the way it does with our test. So we gave it the data key here, which points to an array with 2 people. So now we're going to render. We're going to render that member list. And we'll go ahead and fire off screen debug. And we're going to see if we got a populated members list and see if there's people there. Oh, I got to wait for it. That's a callback. And I need to await it. I'm just, I called it empty above the screen debug because it'll just do exactly that. It'll wait for it, even with nothing in it. And then it'll show you your data. And you can see I got John and Stan. They're both there. So now I can check to see if, that length is there. I can check to see if those individual names are there. So let's see here. How would I get them all? Like we could do like if we wanted to check something, we could say list or say const list equals screen dot get all by text, and here I'm just going to look for unit because I know there should only be 2 units in there, and then I can expect unit. I'm sorry, list 2. Don't do that. To have. Why does it keep doing that? It keeps giving me hints. I've never seen that keep popping up like that before. That's crazy. There, that's the one I want. To have length. We want that to have a length of 2 because we only pass 2 into the array, so that should fly, and it does. And then we can check one by name, so we can say, const name equals screen get by text. Get by text, and we're gonna go get we'll get John. And so we're gonna grab John, and we're gonna say expect name to be in the document. There's always a good one because you're only checking to see if something's there or not. And that should fly. Yeah, I'm good. So a small hiccup there because of a self-inflicted typo, but yeah, we got everything mocked out. Any questions on that?
No, good.
Good. Everybody good? That's pretty much it. Other than the redundancy of some of these tests that you have to do in the sprint, it's the same thing. And there'll be less code written in the sprint as well. The main gotchas of the sprint is the manual updating of state, because you will have to do that there for update and delete, and I believe add. Add is just a spread operator, so that's not a big deal. You just spread the new color into the array. But yeah, that's all I really got for you guys. I hope it's helpful.
You're extremely helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. I try. I try not to confuse anybody more than I have to. Let me stop the recording.